Hey everyone, it's Jennifer Hancock here, and I'm a humanist, run humanist learning systems. I was watching the news last night when a segment on Cam Newton came on, and he's a football player, I guess. But he was saying something really, really sexist, and my husband came out and he said, I don't understand why Cam thought this was funny, what the joke was. And I had to point out to my husband that's because it wasn't a joke. He wasn't joking. He was having a problem comprehending what was happening. And what was happening is a reporter asked him a question, and he couldn't fathom that he had gotten that question because the question came from a woman. So I'm going to play the video for you, and then we will discuss why this is such a common experience and why it needs to stop. And men like my husband, who thought this guy was joking and didn't understand what the dynamic was that was playing it. He understood why women were upset by it, but he thought Cam was joking. And I had to point out, no, he wasn't joking. There are literally men, not a lot of them, but some men can't function professionally around women, and that's a problem. So let's watch the Cam video and then discuss it.
His routes and getting those extra yards. Does that give you a little bit of an enjoyment to see him kind of truck sticking people out there?
It's funny to hear a female talk about routes. Like, it's funny.
Fun.
But fun is coming along, man. We're gonna. This is a big game for him.
Okay, so he gets this question, a technical question from a female reporter about his play and a teammate's play. And he's like, oh, it's kind of funny to hear a woman talking about routes. Now, to his credit, he recovers and then answers the question, kind of in sports lingo. Oh, we're doing our best, and he's coming along, and not really answering the question, but just in general terms. But that's common to all sports people. The reason women were upset by this, and the reason it's such a problem, is because, as I told my husband, there aren't a lot of men who can't function around women, but there are absolutely men who can't function professionally around women. And for far too long, we've made it the responsibility of the women to marginalize ourselves so that this man who's too discombobulated around women to function can function and do his professional job, because the man's ability to do the job is almost always more important than the women's ability to do her job. I'm going to give you an example of this from my own life. The first time I encountered this phenomenon, and like I said, it's not all men. It's very few men. In fact, the number of men that have done this to me is incredibly small. But it still happens, and it's probably happened to pretty much every woman who's in a professional capacity anywhere in the world. So let's talk about my experience. This was me in college. On the picture with the dolphin was me. I used to work, volunteer at a dolphin language cognition laboratory. And that was my science outfit. There was a thing last year on what women wear in science because some men find it too distracting. Well, this was my science outfit. I was doing science. That's me doing science. I was a dolphin trainer for a dolphin language cognition research laboratory at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. I was a linguistics student. My academics was cognitive linguistics, so it was a combination of psychology and linguistics, like what happens in your brain when you do language. Very fascinating stuff. I was one of the few linguists who was at this lab. Most of the people there were psychologists looking at dolphin cognition. I was a linguist, which made me a little bit unique. We used to have visiting professors come in all the time, because how many places are doing language cognition research with dolphins? Well, we were. We would get visiting professors all the time, and we would give them tours and so forth. Most of these people once they got over the shock that everybody's walking around in swimsuits, went about doing the work. And yeah, I understand you walk into a facility and everybody's in swimsuits and there's a bunch of dolphins. It's the combination of dolphins and people in swimsuits doing academic work is a bit shocking for most people. But they get over it, you know, men and women. They get over it and they get on with the science. But we have this one guy come in, and I forget his name now because it's been, I'm not going to age myself, it was 30 some years ago. And he was a famous linguist, and I had read his books, and I had some questions for him about one particular kind of very specific aspect of his theory and his work. So he gets his tour, and our lab manager introduces him to me because I'm a linguist, he's a linguist. And I'm wearing what you see there, a swimsuit. And I'm looking like this in a swimsuit because that's how we did science. I'm very excited to meet him. I have very specific academic questions to ask him. And he could not answer. He could not just not answer the question. He couldn't speak to me. He literally could not utter a single word to me. I mean, not at all. Not a single word. Nothing. He just looked at my body, didn't make eye contact, and didn't say a word. And it's not unusual when you're a young woman wearing a swimsuit for men to meet you the first time to size you up. That's expected to happen. But every other researcher who came to this lab would get over that very quickly as soon as you started asking academic questions and go into science mode and start interacting with you as a human being talking about science. This man couldn't. He had his brain exploded. And he couldn't utter a single word at all. And he eventually was taken away by the other guy. Just realized this man was incapacitated in the presence of a woman in a bikini asking him an academic question. He could not function. I was pissed because I really wanted to know the answer to my question. It had been burning in my mind. I was so thrilled this man had shown up that I could ask him in person this question. And I didn't get my answer because this man was not professional enough to deal with a woman in a bikini asking him a question. And this comes back to the Cam Newton problem. Some men can't handle that women are human. They are not able to transition from primal ape brain, sex brain, into human brain. Most men can. Most men have no problem with this. They see a woman in bikini and they go, ooh, woman in bikini. And she starts talking academic. They go right into academic with her. They're kind of excited. Wow, this woman's not just wearing a bikini. She knows stuff too. The brain is there. Full picture. But some men can't handle it. They just can't. And they can't function professionally in the presence of a woman. There's not a lot of men like that, but they do exist. The ones that can't do their job. This is what we all need to start understanding. If a man cannot do his job in the presence of a female, then he can't do his job. He's incompetent. It doesn't matter how brilliant he is. This is a handicap he has. And forever, we have treated that handicap as something that needs to be accommodated. Women are marginalized so that the very few individual men who can't do their work when women are around can do their work. And the question I have is, why are we tolerating that? I think Cam's employers and his sponsors did the right thing by recognizing if you can't do your job in the presence of a woman, then you cannot do your job. And that's how we should be handling it, because if you can't do your job, you shouldn't have the job. The workplaces now are diverse. They're diverse with gender. They're diverse ethnicity-wise. They're diverse globally with people from all over the world. We can't allow individuals who can't handle that fact, to prevent people from doing their job too. This woman that was interviewing Cam was doing her job, and she was prevented from doing her job by a man who couldn't handle the fact that a woman was doing her job. That's not okay. Women should not be marginalized just so a few men who can't do their work around women can still do their work. Women should not be marginalized. We should not be doing that anymore. Which brings me to the topic of humanism. Humanism and feminism in particular. I don't know how you can claim to be a humanist if you're not also a feminist. Women are humans. And we are human first, women second. Same with men. Men are human first, male second. And in a professional environment, that's absolutely critical. Because there are a few men, not a lot, but a few, who cannot view women as human and are incapacitated by the presence of women in the work environment. And we cannot and should not allow them to marginalize other people to protect themselves. Yeah, everybody needs a work environment that they can work in, but the marginalization of certain people, people of color, women of color, name the group that's been marginalized. We are marginalized to make space for other people so that those other people can get their work done. Because the other marginalized person is not valued enough and their work contribution is not valued enough to prioritize them equally. I'm not saying marginalized people should be protected more than any other group. I'm talking about equality. Everybody's work should be valued equally in the workplace, and prioritizing certain people's work over other people's work in the workplace is what creates that imbalance. And we need to stop it, because no person's work is so important that the other person's work needs to suffer as a result of it. That's what marginalization is. It has economic impact. It has quality of work impact. When you do not have diversity and you do not have those other voices weighing in on problem solving, you're probably not getting your problem solving done well. So let's all remember to view each other as human first. When we're in the workplace, we're talking about professionalism. The other person's attributes, whether they're female or male, or what their skin color is, or how they did their hair, or what their eye color is, or what clothes they're wearing, it's all irrelevant. They have a brain. They're trying to solve problems. They're trying to work on whatever the work is. That's what should be paramount. And allowing individuals, and it's only a few individuals, allowing those individuals to dictate whether or not certain people can participate in the conversations and the problem solving is bad for everyone. I was really proud of my husband for not finding the joke funny, but I was also a bit dismayed, Cam Newton's, that he didn't understand that the problem wasn't that it was a bad joke. The problem was that Cam was displaying something that's really, really common, which is some men's inability to be professional in the presence of professional women. That's the problem. Let's deal with it.